Cobalt has been the owner of the Demons List for a long time, but he has made many mistakes over a rather short period of time, and because of that we have decided that he is not fit to be owner. He has consistently displayed tendencies that show his inability to act like a proper owner, such as his lack of communication with his leaders and mods, his inability to handle situations he is uncomfortable with, his bias towards people he likes and dislikes and how that plays into some of his decisions, and his tendencies to ignore people when he doesn't feel like having important conversations. The point of this video is to prove that he displays these negative traits and hopefully get him to step down.
Noise was a very important figure of the Demon List for a very long time. He was part of it all the way back to the forum days, when the list was managed by hand. At a time, Noise was a driving force in the retention of the Demon List's reputation and popularity. During the FPS bypass drama, Noise created a video explaining our views of the bypass, which satisfied many people angered over its ban. He was also a huge help in adding records to the list and helping us keep up to date. On July 22nd, Cobalt demoted Noise from a leader to a mod. Now, the bad part about this isn't the demotion itself. Noise had been way less active than he used to be, and didn't do as much as a leader really should. The problem here is Cobalt's lack of communication. He directly stated that he didn't consult any of us with this decision. An owner should communicate with his staff about important decisions like this, even if it seemed obvious that we agreed with Noise's demotion. Nothing truly bad happened to this demotion, but it is simply a display of Cobalt's recurring habits of not communicating with the leaders of the Demon List. His lack of communication will be elaborated on further soon.
Cobalt has a couple friends in the public server that he didn't want anyone to mess with. In order to do that, he made a protected role that went in between owner and leader, effectively making sure that they could only be affected by him and no one else. When we confronted him about it, he didn't explain why it was there or that he had any plans to get rid of it. Eventually, he deleted the protected role, but not without us bringing it up again. This shows his bias towards certain people in the public server. It also shows his tendency to do things without our permission, and the fact that he did this knowing that we would disagree is bad leadership. Something else to bring up is that he has reinvited a member of the public server several times that we banned, just because he's friends with Cobalt. His name's Blanket Addict, and every time he gets reinvited, he continues to break rules and shows that he doesn't learn from his mistakes. Then he complains to Cobalt, and Cobalt reinvites him. This shows that Cobalt doesn't learn from his mistakes as well.
No! What the?
I joined the Demon List team on the 1st of December in 2017 and had gotten mod in January. Who would have thought that the 7-month period of contributions ranging from organizing a massive amount of placement changes and the idea of the podcast could all be forgotten as I was kicked for complaining about the protected role and calling Sir Mello, a friend of his who received the protected role, his fuck buddy, which is funny considering you will soon see plenty examples of him confiding in Sir Mello instead of the entirety of the Demon List team. Though I was swiftly invited back after messaging Cobalt in direct messages and the push of many staff members, the idea of making decisions without the consideration of everyone over something as petty as this would give the impression that he is not to be trusted with his power. This was a rash decision that he had never thought to apologize for. He simply sent an invite without any sort of defense. To end this, I want to mention that the protected role I was complaining about was deleted after I was kicked, so effectively I was simply a sacrifice to fix some bullshit. A stupid thought, but it actually went down that way.
About half a month ago, we decided to host a mega collab, and although there were some issues assigning roles and making gameplay, all of us except Cobalt got it done in 8 days. Although we continued to tell Cobalt to make his part, he never actually worked on it. After a while, I talked about someone replacing Cobalt, but he said that he had to do it, which is basically saying that he couldn't be kicked from the mega collab. For this reason, the gameplay for the mega collab has not been finished, and no matter how many times we say for him to work on it, he doesn't. Even if he works on a part now, the collab has lost most of its hype, and many of the collab members have lost motivation.
Editor's note, Sonic80 just got muted for constantly pressuring Cobalt to work on his part. As some of you may know, I previously uploaded a video on my channel called Curb Your Demon List, in which I showed DMs between Cobalt and Sir Mello, in which Cobalt confesses that he had used Demon List Twitch donations for his personal Twitch subs. It's short, so I'm gonna play the video for you so that you can see what I mean.
Thank you so much for the donation, Clockin. Much appreciated. Well, it will go towards the list.
We'll talk about I had unlisted the video because Cobalt really wanted me to, and because he said it would ruin his reputation. But I now realize that his mistakes should not be swept under the rug, so the video is now public again. I want to make it very clear that he claims it was an accident. Whether he is being honest is up for you to decide. However, the action itself is not the root of the issue. The main problem we have with this is his reluctance to share this error with the rest of the team. Instead, he just told a random friend. Furthermore, I want to mention that a new leader was being added shortly after this time, and I was not allowed to be considered because of this lack of trust. But in actuality, the one who broke the trust in the situation was Cobalt. Please remember that he did not willingly share this information with me. This habit of lying and withholding of information does not end here.
I beat Subsonic, I fluke Jazer.
Prepare, ladies and gentlemen, for one of the biggest reasons Cobalt should step down from his position. He doesn't have the qualities an owner should have. There are many examples of him showing unownership-like qualities, but we will begin with this one. As you can see, Cobalt is actively deleting messages to attempt to cover himself up. Within the discussion he deleted messages in, TGI showed a screenshot in which he asked Sir Mello if Cobalt was online or not. At the time, Cobalt's phone was dead, according to him. However, when TGI asked Mello, Mello DM'd Cobalt and Cobalt replied back to him. This proved that Cobalt was purposely ignoring the conversation, as well as proving that Cobalt was lying about being unable to respond to messages. This is absolutely not okay, and we will not tolerate an owner that displays such behavior. You should believe us now when I say that Cobalt ignores the staff a lot. He refuses to talk to us during important conversations, such as bringing up the idea of a co-owner. What Cobalt doesn't realize is ignoring us only makes us discuss things like a co-owner even more to split the power. And now, it has even gotten to the point where we want him to step down. Cobalt also allows bias to influence his decisions. Here, you can see Cobalt does not want someone to be leader, not because he thinks they aren't worthy, but because he personally doesn't want them to be leader. This is not a good quality for an owner, because he is not considering a decision based on if it'd be best for the list or not, but based on his own personal views. His views that most other staff members do not agree with. Cobalt's bias against staff will be discussed more in depth later. I'll talk about one last thing that makes Cobalt unfit for owner. His inability to handle situations. In this screenshot, you can see Cobalt refusing to take part in discussion, needing less of this. An owner should be able to handle a conversation about improving the list or its staff, even if a lot of discussion has been going on. There are possibly more ownership-like qualities Cobalt possesses that I could mention, but I don't want to drag this out, so we will move on.
A fairly well-known player by the name of Crazen was brought into the private Demon List server for the second time on August 5th. He had previously left off the team after being demoted because of an argument during the whole Noctify hacking scandal. Many of the list mods said he was being a nuisance and he wouldn't work well with the team because of his bitter ignorance and his immaturity from the last time he was added, but for whatever reason, Cobalt decided to re-add him anyway without consulting any of the mods or even the leaders. Even the creator of the Point-to-Crate website, Stardust, was angered by Cobalt re-adding him. Because of this, Stardust refused to give Crazen permissions to add and remove records from the list. As a result, Crazen would constantly bother Stardust in the chat, like tagging him without context and just overall being a nuisance in the chats. He even leaked some stuff from the private chats to show to his friends, including N-Level and Mil Veronica's pastebin. Over the course of a month, most of the team talked in the private chats about Crazen and how annoying he is. Even after the majority of people wanted him gone, Cobalt just ignored us and kept him. Now, you may be wondering, well, why couldn't the leaders themselves just kick him out? Well, the leaders didn't want to risk getting demoted since Cobalt has the ability to do that. Cobalt has a tendency of demoting people without consulting others, as shown by TGI's rash demotion and kick. He probably would have demoted the person who gave Crazen the boot as a result. In the end, Stardust ended up kicking him out of the private server since he finally snapped. The issue here is that Cobalt wasn't even the one who kicked him, even after the several times he promised he would get rid of him. In conclusion, the Crazen situation is just another example of how biased Cobalt is towards certain people, since he gives them more chances than others.
Being personally disliked by the owner of the Demons list makes it quite difficult to move up. To set the scene, I'm going to show you a video published by Alex the Derp that caused Cobalt's hatred for me to escalate.
Should have done it. Diamond did the ban, and Cobalt unbanned him. Them two should do it.
Yeah, Cobalt is just he's just such a disconnect. But of course, it doesn't matter because he can't do anything about it. He won't ever step down, even though he really should. I want to give context to what I am saying and why. This was shortly after Crazen rejoined the list team, and the disconnect I was referring to was the fact that he chose to invite Crazen without consulting any mods, or even leaders for that matter. How exactly did this butcher my chance of promotion? Well, here are screenshots from the leader chat, where I'm getting heavily recommended by almost every leader, even including Cobalt himself. However, the next day, things took a turn for the worst when Cobalt saw the video and immediately shot my promotion down because of what I said. Though I meant to say it in private, with the timing simply being my downfall, I never told Alex to censor the audio because I still stood by what I said and did not mind if Cobalt saw it, which he did. Maybe I would have changed my mind if I knew it would have prevented me from having a chance at being promoted for nearly 4 months. Here you can see I'm talking about losing me with the video, because, of course, pointing out concerns and stating my opinion in any way affects my contributions to the list and ability to lead. Also, that mysterious leader that Cobalt was talking about demoting was either Npesta, Diamond, or me, and I would be astounded if I was not the one he was thinking of demoting for personal reasons. Unfortunately, as of now, he refuses to say who he was talking about, so I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, no!
Because of the reasons listed in the screenshot provided, the majority of the leaders decided that Delta Blue should be demoted. Instead of responding with anything substantial, Cobalt first completely rejects the idea, and then insinuates that the Demon List isn't a democracy by declining the opinions of the majority of the leaders. After we point that out to him, he claims that he's sick of us attempting to make changes and better the list. He avoids the main points and says vague statements instead. He then says that there would be someone who he would rather demote, but instead of him actually explaining, he just says he won't tell us who or why. He never once actually challenged us by providing reasons why Delta shouldn't be demoted, and stuck to calling out little things and saying vague statements. This is another example of Cobalt using bias towards people he likes.
Editor's note number 2, Delta's like kind of active now, I think he kind of learned, but the point still stands that he was being protected like this. So, fuck, I don't know.
My name's Jeff!
A little over a month and a half ago, Alex the Derp was kicked from the Demon List. Cobalt, realizing his mistake, re-invited him as a helper. Recently, Alex asked Cobalt why he couldn't be promoted to mod again, and Cobalt consistently ignored him, proving that Alex isn't being promoted based on personal bias. Cobalt was, in fact, reminded of this many times, one day having to be reminded a total of 4 times, but he still would not respond. He continued making excuses for why he was not responding to Alex, but none of these excuses were valid in any way whatsoever, and is just another example of Cobalt refusing the ideas of those around him and making the Demon List a dictatorship.
Editor's note number 3, Alex got modded while this video was being edited. Cobalt probably just realized that there was actually no reason for him to not be mod.
Anime sucks. The desired outcome of this would be Cobalt accepting that he is unfit for the owner position and following up with demoting himself to leader. Stardust, the coder of the website, would be given ownership of the Discord servers, both private and public, and there will be private discussion concerning whether there would be an owner to replace Cobalt or even 2 to balance power. Either way, we are hoping if Cobalt refuses to budge, the community will give him the push he needs to make a change.
And that's our reasons why Cobalt is unfit for his owner position. I want to quickly thank the list staff members that helped with the making of this video: Alex the Derp, BriantheBurger, Dagger, DiamondSplash, Mullsy, Npesta, Technical, and Wormfodder. They all contributed some way to the creation of this video, whether it was writing, research, voicing, or simply showing that none of us were alone in our concerns. Also, I want to thank Sir Mello for his help in exposing Cobalt for some of his actions. All their links are in the description below. Thank you for listening.